does happen. Take a couple breaths and recognize that you're distracted. So anyway, as you come to a comfortable seat, take a moment to sit up a little higher or sit up in a chair or in a different way than cross-legged to make it more comfortable, okay? This pose or this initial seat is meant to be where you can tune into the rest of your body. And if you have some tight stuff going on, say through the hips or the low back, then the only thing you might be able to focus on is your hips or low back. So take a moment wherever you are sitting to give a press down into your legs, lift up and lengthen through your sides, draw your shoulder blades onto your back. And as you let your eyes close, begin to bring awareness to your breath. Just simply bringing your awareness there often helps to start a deeper breath. So gently start to let your breath move a little slower and deeper. Especially slowing the exhale down to make it a little bit longer. Allow your inhales to happen at a natural rate. And your exhales to slow down just a little bit more and to press out just a little bit more. A couple more breaths this way. And then bring your hands to connect that heart center. And then tuck your chin in and bow toward your heart, taking a moment to honor yourself for taking this time, for tuning in. And then softly open your eyes and release your hands down and lift up with your gaze. And now reach your arms out long to the side and stretch all the way up overhead. Take a hold of your right wrist and stretch over to the left side. Rooting down through your right sitting bone, take a big breath and fill up your ribs. Have the intention of letting that lift them. Inhale, come back up to center, switching wrists, and exhale over to the right side. And again, take a big breath and have that intention of lifting up with your ribs. Inhale, come back up to center, switch wrists. Exhale over to the left side again. And this time, turn your right shoulder a little downward so that you're gazing a little bit toward your left knee. Reach a little bit in that diagonal, little pull onto your wrist, even as you root down through your right sitting bone. Inhale, turn up and open, and switch wrists. Exhale over to the right side. And again, we're turning downward with your left shoulder, turning your gaze a little downward, your chest a little downward, and create a little pull. Root down with your left sitting bone. And inhale, rise all the way back up and release your arms. Take your hands behind your back to either clasp or make fists at your low back if that feels better to you. Lift up and open through the shoulders. And if you are clasping, press your palms together. Elbows are bent and wrap them back toward each other. So hug them toward each other. Shoulder blades will do a little squeezing. And then release your hands and we'll take it the opposite direction. Clasp hands in front and pull forward. Round back through your upper back and expand into that space between your shoulder blades. Take a deep breath. Then inhale, sit tall, switch the cross of your legs, coming to the less comfortable cross for yourself. And then shift a little side to side here, moving sitting bones back and broad. Physically help them move to enable that slight tilt of your pelvis forward. And now inhale, reach the arms up overhead again. And then take a hold of the right wrist and stretch to the left. Root with your right sitting bone. Take a full big breath, finding that expansion of the ribs. And then turn downward with your torso. Find that reach. And now even more so, notice your flaring ribs and draw them in even more to expand into the upper back like a cat. Inhale all the way back upright, switch wrists. Exhale over to the right. Rooting the left sitting bone down, take a big breath, find that expansion of the ribs. Then turn downward. And again, as you turn downward, pull in with your ribs and allow the upper back to round like a cat pose. Full breath. Inhale all the way back upright. Release the wrists and arms all the way back down. This time, walk your fingertips forward. You can always have a prop underneath them here, but we'll move through a couple rounds of cat and cow. So inhale. Tilt your belly forward, heart forward, shoulder blades engage. Exhale, round back through your spine, thinking of your ribs drawing in, your chin tucks in. Inhale, belly and heart forward. And exhale, round back. One more time this way, full, deep, long inhale, long, full exhale. And then inhale back to a neutral place for your spine. We're going to set ourselves up into a hands and knees position. And in that hands and knees position, we'll do a couple of things to start getting into the outer hip and into the IT band a little bit. So from hands and knees, set yourself up, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. And you can always have a blanket underneath your knees here for a little support. But find that rotation of elbow pits so they're trying to turn forward and push to expand into the upper back. Strong through the shoulders. Now we're reaching back with the right leg with your toes tucked under. And then lift up and open with your right hip. So you're turning a little bit. Take a full big breath and think of moving your right shoulder away from your right hip. Exhale, set your knee down. And inhale, stretch back with your left leg. Toes tucked under on the ground. And then rotate your hip up a little ways. Push with your hands and then start to draw your left shoulder a little bit away from your left hip. And then exhale, both knees come back down. This time we're going to inhale and reach back with your right leg behind you. Turn open with your hip here. Bend your knee and press your heel toward the left side. Reaching longer through your thigh, engage your low belly for support. On your exhale, knee comes back to the ground. Inhale, reach back with your left leg, turn open with your hip, bend your knee, and think of getting longer through your thigh. Your heel is pushing toward the right side, low belly is engaging. And then exhale, knees down, and we'll give our wrists a little break now. Settle hips back towards your heels. Turn your palms up, coming into your variation of child's pose. Hips don't have to come all the way to heels. They can always stay a little lifted, but let your head come to rest and take a big breath. And now rising back up to your hands and knees, we're going to take a sideways cross with our leg this time. So reach back with your right leg, but this time cross it behind your left. Your toes are tucked under. And from here, move your shoulders to the left. Take a big deep breath. Push with your hands, letting your shoulders expand. And then come back in the center, reset your knees. And now reach back with your left leg and then step it across behind your right leg. And then shoulders shift over to the right. Stay pressing with your hands, strong with your shoulders. Take a big breath. And then inhale, come back into center and set both knees down. We'll take one more stretch from our hands and knees. And so this one is our cross-legged version of our child's pose. So we're stepping the right knee behind the left. Your knees are snugged up into each other. And then as you use your hands to work your way back with your hips, that top knee might lift up off the ground, or it might stay on the ground if that feels better to you. If it's there for you, maybe walk your hands forward or even out to the right side and take a deep breath. And then walk your hands back into center and shift forward onto your hands and your knees. Left leg this time crosses behind your right, knees snugged up into each other. And then use your hands to help you work your hips back as far as is comfortable. And again, your top knee might lift up off the ground. It might not, that's okay. And then maybe walk your hands a little further forward or even out to the left side. Take a deep breath. And now coming back into center with your hands, shift onto hands and knees. And from here, your choice. You can stay on hands and knees, or you can tuck your toes and lift your hips to a downward facing dog pose. And if you're finding your downward facing dog pose, root more with your hands and push from your back muscles, from your wing muscles, out through your hands, lift your sitting bones up higher. Then sway a little side to side here, getting a little longer from hip to armpit. And now walk your way forward, coming into your forward fold at the front of your mat. Take an inhale and lengthen part way. Exhale and fold. Hands come to your hips. Press back on your hips, lift up with shoulders and rise all the way up to stand. And as you come up to stand, reset yourself. Feet inner hip distance apart and parallel. Lift and spread your toes and then root them down. Inhale, stretch up overhead. Take a hold of your right wrist and stretch over to the left side. And now you can stay right here if you would like to, or you can step the right foot behind the left to take a little bit of a different stretch here. Pushing both feet down into the ground, big toe mounds are pressing down. Take a full big inhale, expand your ribs. And exhale, maybe you're stretching a tiny bit more. Inhale, rise all the way back up to center. Release your wrists and step both feet to parallel again. Pause for a moment, lift and spread your toes, and then root. Inhale, stretch up overhead. Take a hold of the left wrist and stretch to the right side. And now again, you can stay here or cross the left leg behind the right. And from there, push down with your big toe mounds. Take a big inhale, expand your ribs. Exhale, maybe a little deeper stretch. Inhale, back up to center. Exhale, release the arms, release the legs back to the feet parallel. Lift and spread your toes and root. Take an inhale, stretch up overhead. Exhale, soft through the knees as you fold over your legs. Inhale, lengthen part way, long through the spine. Exhale and fold. And now plant fingertips. We're stepping right foot back into our lunge. Turn and plant your back foot so your foot's parallel approximately to the back of your mat. Inhale, rise up to your warrior two. Then you might adjust your stance to make it longer or shorter to find that place where your shin is stacked straight up and down. Your knee is working toward over the arch. Opening the knee up towards your pinky toe edge, lift your ribs up high. Take a big breath and stretch up. From this place, take a hold of your left wrist and stretch back. A little reverse here. Take a full breath and notice the tendency for your knee to unbend. So bend it again and open it up. Hands come back to your hips and now work your front leg towards straight. And as you do so, big toe mound is going to push down. You're rotating your knee more toward the left side, all the way from the glute. And then shift your hips back, creating a hip crease in that front leg. Take your left hand first to your thigh and avoid letting your knee push back. So you have to activate the thigh a little bit. Extend your heart further forward. And then you might bring your hand down to your shin, or if you have a block, you can always bring it to a block. Take a full deep breath as you keep opening the knee up toward the left side. Turn your belly and your heart more open to the right, and maybe stretch. Deep breath, triangle pose. Exhaling, hands come all the way down to the front of your mat as you bend into your front knee. And step back into a down dog or hands and knees, your choice. Send sitting bones up and push from lats out through your hands. And then bring knees down, hips to heels. Take a moment in child's pose. Let your head come to rest on something, whether it's the floor or a block or a blanket. Then inhale, rise back to hands and knees or downward facing dog pose. Pause for a moment and grow longer through your spine. And then we'll step our way forward, coming into our forward fold at the front of our mats. Take an inhale and lengthen part way. Exhale and fold over your legs. Plant your fingertips. You're stepping left foot back this time into your lunge. Turn and plant your back heel so your foot is parallel to the back of your mat. And rise up to your warrior two with your hips facing the left. Knee opening more toward the right side, even as you bend into your knee. Lift your ribs, your chest, your heart. And then stretch up. And as you stretch up, take a hold of your right wrist and reach back. And now bend deeper into your front knee and open it up. Take a big deep breath, fill your ribs. And then bring hands to your ribs as you lift your torso, start to work your front leg towards straight. Big toe mound is pressing down, even as you rotate your knee more toward the right side. And then shift your hips, create that hip crease. Hand to your thigh, allow a little tone so your knee does not push back. Extend your heart, and then you might bring hands a little lower to your shin or maybe up to a prop. And as you turn your belly and your heart more open to the left, notice that turning open of the right knee to the right side. And then maybe stretch, top arm to the sky. Big, full, deep breath. Exhaling, both hands come back down to the ground. Tap your back toes and settle back one more time into your child's pose. And this time, if you want to, you can bring arms back alongside your body. Head resting on something. Deep breath. And use your hands to support you to rise all the way up to your seat, and then come all the way down to sitting bones. And now we'll do a little bit of that outer hip stretch and IT band stretch that some of you might be familiar with at this point. Right hip comes all the way to the side of your mat. Right shin is parallel to the front of your mat. Left knee comes straight out to the left side, not angled forward, but straight out to the left, shin parallel with the side of your mat. And from this place, you're turning your belly a little bit toward your front leg. Lift up tall and just notice here if there's some sensation. For me, there's always some sensation in that top hip. But wherever it is, there's no right or wrong answer. long through your spine, and then hinging to fold over your front thigh. Tendency here is, if it's really intense, is to turn your torso a little in or to lean it off to the side. Try to bring it directly over your front thigh, and then maybe bring elbows up to a prop, or maybe they come to the ground. Find where it is that you have some sensation of stretch, but where you can use your breath to calm. So if that means staying up on your hands, that's okay too. Full breath. Two more deep breaths right here. And then as you rise up with your torso, we're now going to bring our right hand back behind our hip a little ways, so your torso is aimed a little bit back and at an angle. And then your left hand is coming to your hip on the left side to rotate a little more forward. Push with your hand behind you and maybe extend your chest further back. You might walk your hand a little further back or a little further forward. Just experiment there. Sometimes this gets into that long hip flexor in the body, the psoas. Sometimes it gets into some of that pocket muscle, the TFL. Take a big breath. And then inhale, bring yourself all the way back upright. And we're going to switch to the other side. Shifting so that your left hip is right up against the side of your mat. Your left thigh is right up against the side of your mat. Your shin gets to work toward parallel with the front of your mat. And then the right leg straight out to the right side, shin parallel to the side of your mat. And from here, sit tall and notice if there's any sensation on this side. Might be the same, might be different than the other side. And then torso over the front leg, work as low as your body is ready for. And again, that might be more of elbows up on a block, might be hands all the way down. Take a big breath. Two more big breaths. And then gently bring your torso back upright. And then the left hand reaches a little bit back. Torso can expand and open a little bit back and diagonally. And then the right hand helps to rotate the hip forward, leaning that hip a little more toward the front of the mat. Take a full big deep breath. Noticing here what's present in your body for sensation and stretch. And then inhale, rising all the way back upright. Both legs come out in front of you. And then we're going to lay all the way down onto our backs. And from your back, knees draw in for a moment and then rock a little side to side. And then we'll take a happy baby pose here. So knees open wide. And then aim the feet up toward the ceiling. Tilt the sitting bones down. And then hold on where it's easy to reach for you. Around the thighs, outside the shins. Or if your sitting bones don't have to tilt up to grab your feet, you can hold your feet. My sitting bones have to tilt up for that. So I'll bring my hands down to my shins instead. Then create a pull down and a push back. Hands pull down, legs push back into your hands. And take a big, full, deep breath. If a little rock side to side feels good, you're welcome to take a couple of those. And now bring soles of feet to the ground, walk your feet out wide, and drop both knees over to the left side. Your right thigh is straight ahead from your hip, so it helps to take a peek at it. And if it's angled off to the left, then maybe work your foot toward the right side a little ways. Right hand comes to your right hip, and do that rolling of the hip a little bit more toward the left side, just like we did in that sitting up position. Active through your feet, this helps to provide stability for the ankles and the knees. And then come back up to center with your knees and take them both over to the right side. And again, check your left thigh, make sure it's not angled to the right, but straight ahead. And then your left hand gets to be the helper there to roll your hip more toward the right. Active feet, take a deep breath. And now back into center. And we're going to set ourselves up in a really comfortable way. So if you have a pillow or bolster and you'd like to set it underneath your legs, then that sometimes gives the hamstrings and the low back a little bit of release. If you'd like to take soles of feet together and knees open wide with that prop, you can. And feel free to add a blanket over the top of you. Whatever it is you need to make this really comfortable, to be able to relax, release, and let go. Bring awareness back to your breath. Add gentle movement into fingers and toes. As you bend your knees and roll over to your side, pause for just a moment with your breath. And then gently press yourself back up to your seat. Bring hands to connect at heart center. And as you take your next breath, fully expand yourself. Send your breath thoroughly into your body. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste. Thanks, everybody.